Iran's supreme leader has rejected holding talks with the U.S. following President Trump's offer of a meeting to improve bilateral ties. In a bluntly worded tweet, Ayatollah Khamenei railed against U.S. officials' comments about Iran and for mentioning talk of war, to which the Ayatollah stated there will be neither war nor negotiations. There have been months of increasing strains after the U.S. reimposed sanctions. Now, those had been suspended as part of the 2015 nuclear deal, which the U.S. withdrew from last May. Now, under the new U.S. sanctions, Iran's barred from buying American dollars and also from trading metals, including precious ones. Besides that, it limits the overall flow of Iranian currency and targets the country's auto industry. Ahead of reimposing sanctions on Iran, Mr. Trump threatened dire consequences, only to backtrack days later, offering an olive branch.
To Iranian President Rouhani, never ever threaten the United States again, or you will suffer consequences, the likes of which few throughout history have ever suffered before. We are no longer a country that will stand for your demented words of violence and death. Be cautious.
So I believe in meeting. I would certainly meet with Iran if they wanted to meet. I don't know that they're ready yet. No preconditions. No. They want to meet, I'll meet. Anytime they want.
Live reaction now from Iran and Saeed Mohammed Morandi. Welcome to the program. You're a professor of politics at Tehran University, so we wanted to get your input on this story. We've seen Trump try this formula before with North Korea, first threatening, making insults, and then extending the olive branch. Why do you think it's not working so far in this situation?
Well, one reason is that the United States has international obligations in the nuclear agreement that it has cast aside. And when the United States is unwilling to abide by its obligations, then there's really nothing to talk about because, first of all, the United States has shown itself to be untrustworthy. And second of all, in future, let's say hypothetically, the Iranians speak with the Americans and come to an agreement. Who's to say that Trump will not tear apart another agreement in future? And as you just now showed to your audience, one day Trump threatens Iran with death and destruction, and a few days later he speaks about unconditional talks. His Secretary of State says one thing, he says something else. So he's unreliable, he's untrustworthy, he's erratic, and he's not someone that the Iranians can deal with.
Well, and Iran has used the same terminology, saying that Donald Trump is not trustworthy and calling him unpredictable. Is there any chance of bilateral talks even beginning to get off the ground from here, or is there just no going back?
I don't think that there's any chance of talks between Iran and the United States until the United States backtracks in one form or another. The United States had an agreement with Iran. Countries like Russia, China, Britain, France, and Germany, as well as the EU, were all a part of the negotiations. These negotiations took many years, and they were finally signed, and the Americans agreed to it. And Trump just simply cannot tear apart an agreement that all these countries have invested so much in. And therefore, when Trump speaks about negotiating with the Iranians say, well, first go back and show that you are committed to a peaceful solution, show that you are prepared to abide by American commitments, and then we can start thinking about the notion of negotiations.
The Turkish president's not mincing his words either, accusing the U.S. of a breach of trust against a NATO ally. Let's have a quick listen to what Erdogan had to say.
You act on one side as a strategic partner, but on the other you fire bullets into the foot of your strategic partner. We're together in NATO, and then you seek to stab your strategic partner in the back.
So there he's saying stabbing us in the back. What do you make of these two countries that are supposed to be strong military allies behaving like this towards each other?
Well, this, I think, also reinforces the notion in Tehran that negotiating with the United States is useless. If the United States treats its own allies, treats a NATO partner, as the lira was declining, the U.S. president went and impose new tariffs on the country in order to create a run on the currency market. He was trying to punish Turkey. When Trump behaves like that towards Turkey, then obviously Iranian leaders say that talking to Trump is useless. But what I do believe we can learn from this is that nations across the region and across the world have to move away from the US dollar. They have to start trading in their own currencies or alternative currencies. And as long as Trump is in power, I think that even ordinary people should refrain from purchasing US goods, from traveling to the United States. Everyone in his own way has to punish Trump, because Trump is behaving like a mafia chief.
Well, and Trump has been imposing tariffs and sanctions country after country, friend or foe. What do you think? Is there any rationale behind winding everyone up abroad with these sort of measures?
Well, I think there are a couple of things, and one is, of course, that Trump is looking at the elections that are coming up, and he wants his people and his base, as they're called, to stay faithful to him and to re-elect him. So I think his primary objective is winning the upcoming elections that we have in November. But in addition to that, I think that Trump, as a businessman, what he does is that he tries to impose extreme pressure on different countries, and then through that pressure gains concessions. But one thing that is happening is that he's doing this simultaneously and behaving like this towards so many countries, even allies. Even when the Saudis treat Canada in such an abusive way, Trump effectively was unwilling to side with Canada. So when the United States is treating even the European Union, Canada, and other such countries in such a way, then I think that creates a global consensus that the United States is a problem, and people gradually start thinking more seriously about real solutions. So I think that while Trump may not be an unintelligent person, and perhaps he may be a successful business person, but I think as the President of the United States, he's doing enormous damage to his country, alongside causing damage to the rest of the world. But I think he's diminishing the power, especially the soft power of the United States.